What up, what up? Salvador Brakeman here, and today we're talking about how to build a successful crowdfunding campaign. And I know what you might be thinking, like, who is this guy to talk about crowdfunding, Kickstarter, all these different topics? I can clue you in. So first of all, I'm really excited that I was just on Devin Thorpe's YouTube show on how to successfully raise money for a nonprofit organization using crowdfunding. And this guy is one of the pillars in the crowdfunding community. He's had people like Anthony Robbins on his show, like really big name people. So I have to give him a shout out because he's another YouTuber. But aside from that, in 2012, I launched a blog, crowdcrux.com. I run kickstarterforum.org. I built up the crowdfunding Demystified podcast, over 150 episodes. Lots and lots of people like that show, particularly because I bring on entrepreneurs who have successfully raised money, and it sort of gets into what they did right, what they focused on, what worked for them with their campaign in terms of marketing, all of these different things I talk about on this show, on that show. And with my blog, it's a bit more informational. Aside from that, I've produced online courses. I have books out there on crowdfunding, Kickstarter launch formula, real estate crowdfunding, nonprofit crowdfunding. So I have a lot of information out there on crowdfunding. So I know what I'm talking about, I think, to a pretty good degree. And I've seen a lot of different campaigns that have been successful and not so successful and what they've done right. So I think the first thing, when it comes to crowdfunding, you have to think of it as a few different models. So there's Kickstarter, Indiegogo, trying to raise money for a creative project, for a band, for a musician, for a theater project, etc., a film. That's more of a creative project. But then there are product-centric campaigns. You know, I've created this entirely new product, this new handbag, this new gadget or gizmo. I would lump that into Kickstarter and Indiegogo. Then there's more crowdfunding when it comes to GoFundMe, when it comes to Fund My Life type of campaigns, raising money for expenses, for travel costs, for medical bills, for memorial funds, etc. That's its own thing in its own right. There's real estate crowdfunding. There is nonprofit crowdfunding. So there are a lot of different types of crowdfunding. I'm going to focus more so on Kickstarter and Indiegogo in this video. So if you're trying to raise money for a creative project or a product. If you want to learn about the other ones, I have lots of videos out there on those topics too. So let's first start here with crowdfunding. And I think that when people first think of crowdfunding, they think of, okay, I want to raise money for this project, or I want to raise money for this product. Most of the very successful Kickstarter and Indiegogo campaigns don't actually start there. Where they start is with a bit of pre-validation. And what I mean by that is they're validating that people want this product, that people want this creative project, that people actually are interested in it. And they usually do that with a few different techniques. You could set up a landing page and send cold traffic to that landing page, see how many email subscribers you get. Building an email list is a very common way to begin to get a little bit of idea of how many people are interested in this product. So that's a very common way. Also just, talking to people in the industry. What do they think of your product? What do they think of the pitch video? That kind of stuff. You begin to get an idea of how your product addresses the market or how your creative project is perceived by your audience. The second sort of component here is to build a minimum viable audience. And what I mean by that is most people think that you go and you raise money and you just naturally find this crowd on Kickstarter or Indiegogo. It doesn't work that way. Most of the successful campaigns bring a little bit of their own crowd to the platform. And what I mean by that is they have what's called a minimum viable audience. They have a small audience of people who already passionately want to support their campaign. And that way, when they actually launch on one of these platforms, it's ensured they're going to get pledges in the first few days or in the first week. So that's going to allow them to trend better in the platform. It's also going to be easier once they get those initial pledges to get a sense of social proof. And more people will be interested naturally in the campaign because they already see, oh, other people are checking it out. I have a great video on social proof I can link up if you want to check that out, and some of the other marketing tactics and Jedi mind tricks that you can employ to get people interested in your campaign. The next part here in terms of how to successfully raise money on Kickstarter or Indiegogo is to be very clear with yourself in terms of the amount of traffic that you can drive to this campaign. So if you have a product-centric campaign, a new gadget, a new product of some kind, you can see strangers backing your campaign. That can happen. Particularly in Kickstarter or Indiegogo's marketplace, you will see people who are just part of the marketplace back your campaign if you have a good product. If you're in a creative endeavor, that's not as likely to happen. Most people are not out there supporting just random books or random theater projects or random film projects. It's very unlikely. You might see like 10% of your overall pledges coming from strangers versus if it's more of a product-centric campaign, you'd see a much larger percentage. Could be anywhere from 40%. I've seen some campaigns have like 70% strangers. So it can work that way. It just kind of varies based on the campaign. So once you are very clear in terms of the amount of traffic that you can send to this campaign, usually what I recommend is that if you have an email list, you might see about 10% of that list actually becoming product owners, actually transitioning into backers of this campaign. And those numbers vary, and you can improve those numbers. They might even be less for some campaigns, but that's a good place to start in terms of understanding the amount of clout that you can bring to this campaign. If you don't have enough clout, then you need to explore a few different options. You can explore paid advertising on Facebook. You could explore doing press releases. You could explore getting media attention. You could explore, buying one of these packages where people have more regular backers. And I'm not endorsing any of these. You could explore marketplaces like the Gadget Flow. That's one of the sponsors of my podcast. You could explore Facebook ad companies like Fund It Today, etc. There are a lot of different ways to go about making up this funding gap that you might have if you don't have a huge clout. So in terms of the different ways, I have some videos out there on email marketing. I have some videos out there on PR. I think that the number one way, if you do want to be introduced to this subject, is to join my free course. And this course goes into how to smash your goal on Kickstarter, how to get in the media, how do you get the media writing about you, how do you get their attention, and more importantly, how to market and promote your campaign with some of the techniques that I've discussed. In terms of how do you get people to actually back your campaign? How do you get people to take action? If you want to check out this course, I'll be happy to link you up in the description of this YouTube video, and also I'll include a little bit of a link so you can check it out that way. Aside from that, the next step here, once you have an idea of the interest in your product, once you have an idea of the amount of clout that you can bring, the amount of traffic that you can bring to it, and whether or not you're gonna have to supplement that with either paid marketing, hiring an agency, doing PR, etc., the next step is to launch the thing. And I think that the launch experience is very different for some campaigns, but it's pretty much the same overall, a lot of the experiences. So the emotional experience of launching a campaign is like, oh shoot, this campaign is live. You feel a little bit of sense of like, what am I doing now? What am I gonna do? So you start to try and get the word out. And there's this thing called the Kickstarter Slump that many people are familiar with, where you see an uptick in pledges in the first week, and then it kind of levels off. And then you see another uptick in the last 3 days of the campaign. That's something that's very normal. I think the experience of launching a campaign, the best way to advise you in this regard is to find as many excuses as possible to talk about your campaign. And I mean excuses here. I don't want you to just blast your link everywhere. I don't want you to say, check out, donate, pledge to my campaign, back it, etc. I want you to find excuses to talk about it. I want you to say, oh look, we just got a new backer. Look at this. Like, this is Raul, and he's from, Michigan. And he decided to back it for this reason. Making a story, making an experience out of it. Or look, we just got to our first $1,000. Hooray, like making that a celebration. Finding excuses to share, like, oh, we just got done making the prototype. Like, look at this, look how cool it is. We're so excited to deliver to you guys. Finding excuses to share news about the campaign is going to go a really long way in terms of writing updates, in terms of sharing on your Facebook page, sharing with your followers, sharing via your email list, etc. I think that's a great way to be very non-invasive, but draw people's attention to the project. Because the name of the game here is to stay top of mind. And what I mean by that is we have so many things going on in our life. You know, we are doing business, we have friendships, we have, you know, romantic relationships, we have sports, we have like all these different things going on. It's very rare you're gonna be someone's number one priority in life. It's very rare. There are only 2 times usually when you are. Number one is when, at the beginning of your campaign, when you've just launched. Because people are like, oh, this is new. Naturally, we gravitate towards new things. And at the end, there's a sense of urgency because the campaign is closing. They're not going to be able to back it or help you anymore. So there's a high degree of urgency. In the middle, there's not as much urgency. So you want to try and stay at the top of people's mind, and you can do that by finding just very simple ways to continue to share your story, to continue to share news about your project, to continue to find an excuse to talk about it with your followers. And the last thing I'm going to say here, because this is one of my longer videos, is when you are trying to launch a successful campaign, there's a lot to be said about the video, about the campaign text, the reward tiers, coming up with ones that are interesting, etc. There's a lot more we can talk about, and I do invite you to join that course because I do go way more into marketing strategies. But the last thing is, the only time a campaign is actually successful is when it fulfills its rewards. At this point in time, you've shipped out all of the rewards to your backers. They have it in their hands. They can see this product, or they can see this thing, or they can experience this thing. And that's really when the magic starts to happen. Because now you have, say, 1,000 people around the world who have a copy of your book, or you have 500 people around the world who have a copy of your new prototype, and they can talk about it with their friends, and they can share and post photos of it on Instagram, and they can give you even feedback, ways to improve it. That is where the magic of crowdfunding happens. Of course, there's a lot of magic when it comes to seeing that successful campaign and that really great social proof for people to write about you, continue to write about you, or vendors, you know, to approach you, like all these different things. That's obviously really magical, but the real magic is when you successfully deliver the rewards for this campaign. People have it in their hands. They then trust you even more. And if you want to, you can launch another campaign, or you could push this into a whole nother product line that accompanies your online store. If you set up an online store with Shopify or something similar, this is your initial test group of customers, which you can build into a thriving 6-figure plus business. So it's a really great launching pad, and I hope I can be there to help you as you're going through this process of growing this campaign and growing your business. If you want more videos like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you can get more notifications. And also, I will link up the online course below. It's free. Just enter your email address. You'll start to get emails from me educating you onto how to launch this campaign, and also how to make the most of your marketing so you're not just throwing money kind of around and not going anywhere with it, which that's kind of like what a lot of campaigners do, and it's really I really want to help with that. It's kind of sad, and it's really ineffective. You know, it's something where if the right materials are out there and people can take advantage of them, they're going to see better results. So thank you for joining me on this journey. Again, my name is Sal, and I look forward to connecting with you next time.